Two gardens again, friend, but this time stand at the fence in the middle of July and just look. The town garden went in with high hopes on one warm Saturday in May, tilled bare, planted in neat single-file rows, watered every evening with a hose and good intentions. By now, mid-July, it is half spent, the lettuce bolted, the beans slowing down, bare dirt cracking between the rows, and the gardener already talking about next year. 30 steps away, behind a plain rail fence, my wife's garden is just hitting its stride. The beans are climbing their second story. Young carrots are coming up in the bed the peas left 2 weeks ago. There is not a hand's width of bare dirt anywhere, and not a single day between April and November when that patch is not feeding somebody. Same rain. Same dirt, once. Same July. One garden is finishing, the other is barely warming up, and by the first frost it will have given 3 times the food from the same square feet. My name is Jonas, and I am Amish, and today I am going to walk you down those rows and show you exactly where the difference is made, 5 differences, to be plain, and not one of them is a secret fertilizer or a bought thing. They are habits. And the biggest of the 5 is the one nobody believes until they try it, so I will save it for the end of the row. The single fastest way to make a garden produce more is something you do with your hands every morning, and most gardeners do it wrong by doing it too little. Hold that. The first difference you can see from the fence, in my wife's garden, the dirt is invisible. Every bed wears a thick brown blanket, straw, old hay, grass clippings, shredded leaves, a hand deep, tucked right up to every stem. The town garden's bare dirt is not neat, friend, it is naked. Naked dirt loses its rain to the sky by noon, bakes to a crust that sheds the next rain instead of drinking it, and grows a fresh crop of weeds every 10 days that steal water and dinner from your vegetables. The mulch blanket ends all 3 wars at once. The ground under it stays damp 2-3 days after a rain instead of 2 hours. Dig your hand under in a drought and it is cool down there, like the cellar. The weeds that do struggle up through it come out with 2 fingers, roots and all. And as the bottom of the blanket rots quietly into the soil, it feeds the bed while it protects it. One afternoon of spreading straw in June saves 30 evenings of hose dragging and hoeing in July. That is not gardening harder. That is the whole point. The old garden is not tended more, it is tended smarter, and the mulch does the dumb work. The second difference explains the watering, and it runs against every summer instinct. We water rarely, and we water deep. The nightly sprinkle feels like devotion, but think like a root for a moment. Water that wets the top inch every single evening teaches the roots to live in the top inch, and the top inch is the first place July kills. Then one weekend you skip a day, the surface bakes, and the shallow-rooted plant collapses like a tent with the pole pulled. The old way is one long, deep soaking once or twice a week, early morning, at the base of the plant, not on the leaves, until the ground is wet a full hand down. The roots follow the water down where the soil stays cool and damp between rains, and a deep-rooted tomato shrugs off a week of heat that flattens its shallow neighbor. Less time with the hose, tougher plants, bigger yield. My grandfather put it in 6 words: water seldom, water deep, roots keep. The third difference happened back in May, but you can read it in July from across the road. Nothing here is planted in lonely single file. The town garden gives each carrot row a wide, bare aisle, which is to say, it gives half the garden to the weeds and the sun. The old beds are planted wide and close, carrots in a band the width of a stove top, beans in a double row, lettuce shoulder to shoulder, so the grown plants close over the soil like a living roof. That roof shades out weeds, holds the damp, and, counted, fits 3 rows of food where the catalog plan fits 1. Close planting in poor dirt is a famine, mind you. Crowded plants in tired soil just starve together. Which is why every close bed here sits on the 4th difference, the one under everything, the compost. Every fall, the beds eat manure from the barn, the summer's compost pile, leaves by the cartload, and every spring they wake up deeper, darker and hungrier for work than the year before. The town garden feeds the plant a spoonful of blue crystals and wonders why the dirt gets worse every season. The old garden feeds the dirt a barrel load and lets the dirt feed everything else. 10 minutes with a bucket of compost around the heavy feeders in mid-July, the tomatoes, the squash, the corn, is the only fertilizer program this garden has ever known, and it out-yields the catalog every single year. Look up before you look down, because close planting has a second story. Every fence line and every spare post in this garden is working, the pole beans climbing 8 feet of rough trellis, the cucumbers up a leaning panel of old fence wire, the little melons in slings on the south side. The town garden lets its cucumbers sprawl over 6 feet of ground apiece. The old garden sends them upstairs and grows carrots in the ground floor they would have wasted. Climbing plants pay you 3 ways: triple the food from the same footprint, fruit that hangs clean and straight instead of curling yellow-bellied in the dirt, and air moving through the leaves, which, after a wet week, is the difference between healthy vines and the mildew taking the patch. A trellis costs an afternoon and whatever the barn corner offers: saplings lashed like a bean teepee, a cattle panel bowed into an arch the children walk under, twine run up a porch post. Nothing in the catalog, everything off the ground. And everywhere you look, the fifth difference: nothing leaves, and nothing sits empty. The pea bed that finished in June was not done for the year. The same afternoon the vines came out, carrots went in for fall. When the garlic comes out this month, beans go in behind it. Late July, as the first beans tire, the fall beets and turnips take their place. August opens ground for the winter lettuce and spinach that will sit sweet under straw into December. The town garden is planted once and harvested once, like a field. The old garden is a shelf that gets restocked the same day it is emptied, succession, the seed catalogs call it now, and it is the plainest arithmetic in this whole video. The same bed, worked April to November instead of May to July, simply lives twice as long. Twice the season on the same dirt is most of the 3 times the food, right there, before a single other trick is counted. And since it is mid-July as we walk, let me hand you the list straight off our own seed shelf, because the second season starts this week, not in some catalog spring. Bush beans go in now. 60 days puts fresh beans on the table in September, weeks after your neighbor's vines are compost. Beets and carrots seeded by the end of July come up in the cooling weather they love and sweeten in the fall frosts. Turnips, in by early August, feed you twice, greens in 5 weeks, roots in 8. Kale, spinach and winter lettuce, sown in August shade, will still be standing green under the straw when the first snow lands on them. Every one of those packets costs $2 and goes into ground the spring garden has already paid for. The saddest sight in the country in July is a cleared pea bed lying bare until next May, 10 months of free growing season, handed back unopened. A woman at our roadside stand asked my wife the question straight out last August, looking at the table loaded past reason: how many hours a day does a garden like that take? And my wife laughed and told her the truth nobody believes: about 20 minutes, most days. The woman had a garden of her own dying at home, and she worked at it harder than we do, but she worked at it the town way: nothing all week, then 3 brutal hours on Saturday, hoeing the week's weeds, dragging hose to the week's drought beds, picking the week's overgrown squash. Saturday gardening is always emergency gardening. Everything you meet has had 6 days to go wrong. The old rhythm is the opposite. The garden gets 20 minutes every morning, with coffee, before the day's real work. Pick what is ready, pull the 10 weeds that dared the mulch, tip a bucket where something looks thirsty, tuck the straw back where the wind lifted it. Nothing ever gets 6 days deep. The hard Saturday never comes. 20 daily minutes beat 3 weekly hours in just about any garden, and it is a gentler way to drink your coffee besides. Now walk the last row with me, because I owe you the big one, the hands, every morning. Here is the fact that changes gardeners forever: once it lands, a vegetable plant is not trying to feed you. It is trying to make seed. The bean plant's whole ambition in life is to ripen a few pods full of hard seeds, and the moment it succeeds, it is finished. It shuts the kitchen and retires. Leave 3 fat overgrown beans hanging on the vine while you are busy elsewhere, and the plant reads them as a job well done and stops making flowers. But pick every pod young. every day or two, before any seed hardens, and the plant, still childless, keeps desperately flowering and desperately potting, for weeks and weeks past its natural stop. The same law runs the cucumbers, the zucchini, the okra, the peas. One hidden marrow the size of your forearm, left under a squash leaf, will half retire the whole plant. So the mid-July morning walk in this garden is not just harvesting, it is the yield engine. 15 minutes, every morning, or every second morning, basket on the arm, picking everything ready and everything nearly ready. The town gardener picks big, on Saturdays, and wonders why the plants quit in August. The old gardener picks small, daily, and the plants dare not stop. More picking makes more food. Nobody believes it until they live it, and after one summer of living it, they never garden the old, the new way again. Step back to the fence now and see all 5 at once, because together they are one sentence. The modern garden is a sprint planted in May and mourn in August. The old garden is a system that never stops. The mulch holds the water, the deep drink grows the roots, the close beds crowd out the waste, the fed soil powers it all, and the daily basket keeps every plant convinced its work is not done. 3 times the food is not a miracle and not a green thumb. It is what any square of dirt gives back when nothing about it is left idle, not the ground, not the season, not the plant's own ambition. So here is this week's move, whatever is growing at your place. Tomorrow morning, take a basket out and pick everything ready or nearly ready. Small is fine, small is the point, and do it again every morning this week. Watch what the beans and the squash do by Sunday. Spread whatever mulch you can lay hands on, straw, clippings, even shredded paper under leaves, over one bed, a hand deep. And into the first bare spot you clear this month, plant something for fall, beets, carrots, a short row of beans. Then come tell me in the comments the thing I always ask visitors: what is your garden's laziest square yard right now, the spot that finished, or never started, and what will you put in it this week? I read every word down there, and nothing on this porch makes me happier than a bare bed getting back to work. Soon those daily baskets will outrun any family's supper table, and that is exactly the plan, because what the table cannot finish, the jars will keep, and canning season is almost on us. That evening is coming. Until then, blanket the dirt, water